technologies that impact the security industry. At the end of 2021, asmag.com reached out its global readership of integrators and distributors of security equipment and asked them to rank technologies based on two criteria. In this presentation, will be revealed the results of this survey and discuss the two technologies that are about to take center stage in the coming years: cloud and artificial intelligence. Their benefits, the new risks they bring to channel players, as well as some of our predictions for the future of security technology are important topics. More about this we will have chance to hear from Mr. Israel Gogol, Group Manager at Messe Frankfurt for Taiwan Media Branch. Mr. Israel, the floor is yours. Hello, Mr. Israel, welcome.
To the Zoom or meeting?
We can see your presentation.
Okay, and the sound is okay too?
Yes, sound is okay, presentation
Excellent.
Great.
Okay, hello from Taipei. I'm happy to join you today from our studio here and to share with you the results of our survey. It is a shame that I cannot join you physically. I hope that sometime this year or maybe next year I'll be able to join the Adria Summit again. I went a few years ago and it was definitely one of the best security events that I've been to. So when we come to talk about technologies that impact the security industry, we need to remember that technology innovation and new products are the result of a need, of a necessity. You want to solve a certain problem or reduce a certain risk. And we can take a look, for example, at the story of Marie Brown and how she impacted the security industry. Marie was a nurse. Her husband, Albert, was an electrician. They had two kids and they lived in New York City in a neighborhood that was not the best one. Because of the nature of their work, both Marie and her husband worked shifts, and many nights she was left home alone with her two kids, and she was afraid. She was afraid staying alone with two children in the house, especially in the dark, in not such a good neighborhood. Luckily for us, Marie was not just a nurse, she was also an inventor. And together with her husband, she thought of a solution. They took a radio-controlled TV camera, they installed it near the door, and they allowed it to transmit what was happening outside to any TV set that was in the house. Together with Albert, they also developed a two-way microphone, so Marie could talk with whoever was outside of the house and understand what's going on. In 1969, Marie patented this system. This is the first patent for a CCTV home security system, and we are using the fruits of this innovation until today. So, as you know, technology keeps evolving and a lot has changed since the times of Marie Brown. And when we come to look at the technologies that impact the security industry, we need to remember that in the life cycle of every technology, of every product, we can identify four distinct phases. The first phase is the introduction phase. There is a new innovation, a new technology that comes to the market. Usually there's only one or two companies that sell it, and all the other companies that are already active in that field are waiting on the sidelines and waiting to see what is the market response. If the response is positive, begins the growth stage. More and more companies enter this field. There is rapid technology innovation and also rapid competition between the different suppliers, between the different vendors on market share. After the growth phase, we reach a maturity stage. Here, most of the market is already familiar with the technology, maybe already owns it, and we have a few big players that control most of the market. And as time progresses, the product and the technology begin to decline. There is no new innovation that comes into the market. it is gradually phased out and replaced by newer technology. 10 years ago, in 2012, in January 2012, our magazine ANS International wrote an article about the growing technologies of that year, trying to predict what will grow in that year. And if we look at that list, we can see things that are very familiar to us today. We can see high megapixel cameras, HD analog HD over coaxial cable, edge analytics, H.264 video codec, cloud video surveillance, and IoT. So if we try to see today, after 10 years, where are these technologies, we can see that most of them are already at the maturity stage. Cloud and IoT are still in the growth stage, but when it comes to cameras, to analytics, to codecs, it is already a mature industry. So at the end of 2021, we wanted, in asmag.com, we wanted to write a similar article about what are the trending technologies that we have today that are impacting the security industry. And we did a survey among our readers, a survey of the manufacturers, distributors, integrators of security technology, and we asked them to rate and rank different technologies according to two parameters. These were how mature the technologies were, how ready they are to be deployed already in a project, and how suitable they are for the security industry. And we put the result on a scatter plot, which you can see now on the screen, and you can see that it is roughly divided into four quadrants. On the bottom, we have the technologies that are not so interesting for us. They are either not suitable or not mature. On the top left-hand side, you can see technologies that are suitable for the security industry, but not yet mature. For example, 5G cellular communication. A lot of integrators are waiting for 5G to be deployed successfully in their country so they can use the benefits of it. And the quadrant that is most interesting for us is the technologies that were ranked by channel players as both suitable and mature. Let's take a closer look at these technologies. Okay, so when we look at the finalists of our survey, the technologies that were chosen as both suitable and mature, most growing and impactful on the security industry, we can see two that pop up and take center stage. One is video surveillance as a service. I would like to focus on that a little bit because we have seen it already 10 years ago, but it keeps coming up now, and we will discuss about it in a short while. And the second one is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence kept coming up the most, whether it is for object detection and identification, for false alarm reduction, for forensic search, for controlling bandwidth. A lot of functionalities now use AI. And we will focus on these two technologies in the coming presentation. Okay. The first one I would like to talk to you about is cloud. Video surveillance as a service, or access control as a service, or platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service. There is a lot of as a service being now promoted in the security industry. Now, we've seen it already in 2012, 10 years ago. What happened that it is growing again now? One of the key catalysts for this was the COVID pandemic. The lockdowns, the need for remote viewing, remote control of systems gave a huge push to the digitization process of the security industry, not just security, all the industries, but specifically in our field, gave a huge push to cloud video surveillance and cloud access control. And I believe that the impact that cloud technology will have on the security industry is not just technological. The biggest impact is from a business model point of view. From a technology point of view, cloud gives us a lot of flexibility, the ability to control many locations from one central location, to rapidly answer any demands that we have from clients or from the market, And the benefits are clear and have been with us for some time. But what will be the impact on how we do business? The biggest impact is the switch from a capital expenditure, CapEx, to operating expenditure, OpEx. From the end user side, this gives them more flexibility in spending their money. They, instead of buying the equipment, they rent it and only use as much as they need, and they can scale up or down according to their needs. From the channel player point of view, it opens new possibilities. The major one is cash flow. You are switching from a one-time payment mode into a recurring revenue mode. So you basically sell a subscription for your services and you get cash flow every month. Okay. There is another opportunity for upselling. You offer a basic service, and if you want to offer an extra service, you charge more money. And it also changes how we are going to do business. If before sales was a one-time transaction, after the client bought something and you delivered, your relationship stopped. Now you need to switch to a more of a account management type of work and type of sales, and not just a one-time transaction. In artificial intelligence, this is definitely the most influential and rapidly growing technology that we see now in security. If you go to trade shows like Intersec in Dubai or ISC West, you will see that there are a lot of newcomers, a lot of companies from the AI field that are now entering the market. So it is definitely an indicator that this is in the growth stage. What is the big promise of AI, of artificial intelligence? In a way, we can think of it as an evolution of video analytics, the one that were also, like 10 years ago and in the middle of the first decade of the 2000s, in a way to make them better. As the security industry started using more and more video cameras, more and more CCTV, it caused a need, a problem. The problem was that it is difficult to monitor hundreds and thousands of cameras at the same time, and security guards lose focus after watching the monitor for the numbers change. Some say 20 minutes, some say more, but focus is lost and a lot of events are being missed. Come video analytics and promise that they will be able to automate the monitoring service. Whenever there is an illegally parked car, an unattended bag, or a line crossing, they will raise an alert and the security guard can deal with this situation. But video analytics were prone to false alarms. They were easily triggered because of passing lights, because of rains, because of branches moving. And this slowed the adoption of video analytics, because if you have thousands of cameras and as a result you have tens or maybe 100, 120 false alarms a day, then users are not so inclined to use the video analytics function. Artificial intelligence promises to reduce the false alarm rate by training the cameras with data sets and being able to filter out what is a real alarm and what is a false alarm. And this will probably increase the efficiency and allow to automate security processes on scale. Now, from technology point of view, we see a lot of benefits both in cloud and in artificial intelligence. But with it, it also opens us to a new set of risks the channel players need to be aware of and ask the right questions. If we look at cloud technology, the biggest risk is, where is your data? This, we can call it outsourcing of your data and of your solution to a third party, opens up a new set of risks that channel players did not have to deal with before. It can be a commercial risk. For example, if your cloud vendor puts in a clause that if you want to switch or if you want to download your information and get it back, maybe you need to pay a penalty of thousands of dollars. Before, when you owned the system and had it, it was not a risk that you had to take into account. It can be a cybersecurity breach. For example, if a username and a password are compromised. I can give two examples from last year from America that can explain what I mean. The first one is an alarm monitoring company called ADT, where one of their technicians added his own email and credentials to client accounts, and he used this access to spy on women in their house. A second company is a cloud company called Verkada that had a super admin username and password that was used for technical support. This password and username were leaked, and suddenly more than 100,000 cameras all over the world, mainly in the United States, but all over the world, are exposed. So let's assume that cloud vendors have the right process and the right SOPs to prevent this type of misuse of your private information by their employees or by other people. But we now see that cloud can also open you to political risk. I'll give you an example from a few weeks ago. A Czech alarm manufacturer, Jablotron, cut off 8,000 clients in Russia and Belarus from their data services as a result of the invasion of Ukraine. Putting politics aside, once you put your data somewhere in using another vendor, you are opening up to a political risk. Let's say that your cloud provider is American, and because of a dispute with a Chinese camera manufacturer or a political dispute between two countries, they decide to not allow access to any Chinese cameras to the system. The result is that you in Europe suddenly have a system that is not working because your cameras do not work with the cloud system because of a political decision that was taken in another continent. When we look into artificial intelligence, of course, it looks promising, it looks like magic, but it will require integrators, it will require channel players to ask a new set of questions from their vendors. And we identify 5 areas where integrators need to ask the camera providers or access provider these questions. The first one is performance. How does this AI analytic work actually? What does it do? Is the performance meeting my expectations? Is it easily tricked or fooled? For example, if I paint my face blue, will the AI understand that I'm a person? Or will they just think that I'm a false alarm and not trigger an alert? The second risk, or the second thing that you need to ask about, is privacy. AI is all about collecting a lot of metadata, a lot of information, and analyzing it and tagging it. The more metadata the AI collects, the more open you are to liability and privacy issues. For example, in your country, does the legal framework allow you to collect information like gender, age, facial recognition, a lot of things that AI companies are promising now as a technology magic and wonder might put you in trouble with the existing privacy regulations in your country. The third thing that integrators need to ask about AI from their vendors is what we call explainability. AI is not magic. It's not a black box. It is a computer program. Before you install something at a client side, you need to understand, how does this algorithm work? Why does it decide what it decides? And you should be able to also explain it to your client. Otherwise, it's like saying, oh, it's some kind of abracadabra. I don't know, the computer does it. It is not the right way to solve problems. Other problems that we have with artificial intelligence are bias. How fair is this AI? For example, if it was trained only on men, how will it react when in the image you have a woman or a child? Is there any bias in the data set? For example, was the data set developed in Southeast Asia and you want to deploy it in Sweden, or vice versa? All these things are things that you need to know in advance. And the last thing about AI that you should be aware of and ask is what we call the AI supply chain. What do I mean by supply chain? Most vendors will not have an in-house team that develops the algorithm or collects the information for the training set and the training data. They will use another vendor, a third party, that already has these data sets, that already wrote the algorithm, and will make it work within their ecosystem. So for you, the integrator, when you evaluate two solutions, you need to go into the details. What kind of algorithm it is? Where's the data set, the training set coming from? Maybe you have company A and company B, and they both use the same algorithm and the same training set. In that case, what is the difference between them? Or maybe the training set was obtained illegally. Maybe it is not good for you to use because it opens you up to problem. There is a facial recognition company called Clearview, and they got into a lot of trouble recently because it was discovered that the training set, the database that they used to train their AI, was illegally collected from social media. If you use their solution, does it expose you to any problems? Okay, so after we discussed the benefits of cloud and artificial intelligence and the risks that channel players need to be aware of, let's try and take a look into the future and see how will this new phase in the security industry will pan out. So what we see and what we feel is that in the near future, the competition between vendors will shift to their software capabilities and not so much to the size of their product catalog or the cost. Before, the competition between companies, let's take, for example, video surveillance, was size of catalog. I have 3,000 cameras that you can choose from, whereas my competitor only has 1,000 cameras you can choose from. Or cost. My cameras are cheaper. My cost to performance ratio is better. But as AI and cloud come into the security industry, we will see that competition will start focusing on the analytics. How many analytics do you provide versus how many analytics does your competitor provide? And within these software capabilities, we identify three fields where we think competition will be the most fierce and where there will be real differentiation between the vendors. The first one is who is able to collect better metadata. How many attributes can we extract from an image? If before one analytic could only identify this is a car, this is a truck, and its color, now the expectation of the market is to be able to extract also the make and the model. This is a Toyota truck from model XYZ. Okay, so the vendors that will be able to give us more and better and more accurate metadata will have the advantage. The second field where there will be competition is the quality of the inference. So the same thing appears differently in changing conditions. For example, if we take a silver car and park it under a street light at night, it might look white. The algorithms that will be able to understand that reality is not injective. It's not one thing and the same thing all the time, but allow some fuzziness, allow some spiel in the parameters, are the ones that will give us better results. Okay, and the third field where AI can shine and where companies can have competitive advantage over the others is link discovery, something that will allow us better investigation. What do I mean? Today, our systems collect a lot of metadata from many objects in the project. The ability to automatically discover and create links between these objects is what will give an advantage to whoever uses it. For example, if I drove somewhere in a car, the AI system, the investigation system, should link me directly to the car. So when you do a forensic search, and today you can look for people with blue shirt and a navy jacket, the system will also say, this person came in a yellow cab, it was a Toyota cab, and this was the number that I caught from a license plate recognition camera. But this is only improvement of what we already have. the holy grail of artificial intelligence and the thing that will impact the security industry the most will be artificial intuition. The first company that will be able to deliver an human-like performance will have the advantage in the market. As you can see, the audience back home is also very, very excited. What do I mean by artificial intuition? Algorithms work, the algorithm brain and the human brain work in different ways. One is a computer program. One is a network of millions of neurons that are trained to analyze and understand new information. If an AI algorithm today sees a cat with stripes, it might think that it is a tiger. But the human brain knows that no, this is still a cat. So the ability to understand and to know what to do when you encounter an unknown situation is what differs the human brain from the algorithm brain. And as computing power will improve, we will also see computerized systems that know how to deal with new situations and suggest ways how to solve them to the security operator. That is what I wanted to share with you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'll be happy to stay in touch and hear from you. If you'd like to ask any questions or send me your feedback, my email is on the screen. And of course, I invite all of you to visit asmag.com. We have a lot of interesting information and nice stories like the ones that I shared with you now. And that's it. Thank you. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you, Israel. Thank you for the story of Albert and Marie and for reminding us how CCTV has started.
Good. Good. Okay.
I have two questions for you.
Yes, please.
My first question, what about the relationship between artificial intelligence and other technologies?
This is a good question. Artificial intelligence is a tool. So it gives you the ability to automate and process on scale a lot of data points and to get out of it information. So for example, it can be in the form of instructions or a recipe, if this, then that. Or it can also be in the form of a recommendation, going over a lot of information points and then giving you a recommendation what you have to do. In our case, you can see that in the security industry, artificial intelligence can be used for many distinct use cases. It can be used for better object identification and classification. If you teach the computer to go over millions of pictures of cars, it will be easy for the computer to detect, okay, this car is a Toyota model something something from 1999, or it is a Ford from 2010. Another thing that you can use AI for is for better operations. For example, if you want to control the bit rate of the camera, you can use AI algorithms to improve it. And that way you can save on bandwidth. So you make the system work more efficiently. And another thing that you can use AI for is for value-added services. For example, if you want to go over the data that the different sensors, and in sensors, I mean, can be card readers, door openers, can be CCTV, edge devices. You can use the AI to go over that and give you value-added insights, for example, for building automation, or if you have a skyscraper, an office building with 50 floors and many offices, you can collect all the information from the occupancy and then give a recommendation how to save on heating costs or how to save on air conditioning in the summer. So AI is a tool. How you use it depends on the use case that you're trying to solve.
Thank you, Mr. Israel, for your insightful answer. And my last question, what could be possible drawbacks of going cloud, and can artificial intelligence help to reduce them?
The drawbacks of cloud, there are several drawbacks. So if you want to, not everybody can adopt cloud because of different reasons. It can be technology. It requires a certain infrastructure that is not available, still not available for everybody everywhere. For example, you need a good internet infrastructure that is not interrupted and with high bandwidth speeds, and you also need it to be in a reasonable cost. You need that the regulatory framework will allow you to do it, that there are no problems in for example, if you are a bank and can you adopt cloud, or do you need to store the information physically on site, or you need to go for another solution where it is your a private cloud and not a public cloud hosted by another company in a data center that you have no idea where it is. So not all industries, because of regulation, not all industries can adopt cloud. And like I said, besides that, there are the business risks of using cloud. For example, what happens if you miss a payment and the vendor decides to shut down your system? So these are different risks that you need to solve. AI specifically will not solve these risks when you consider whether or not to adopt a cloud solution. AI can make the cloud solution itself better for you. For example, the AI can help with video analytics that are on the cloud, or the AI can control the upload and download. If you want to check videos that you have archives, but it will not change the decision whether or not you should adopt a cloud solution.
Mr. Israel, it was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for your participating.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that in your next physical event I can come in person.
Thank you, sure. Thank you, Mr. Israel.